Hibiscus propagation by stem cuttings is very easy to do. With a simple technique, you can root the cuttings in less than 2 weeks. So today in this video, I'm going to show you how to effectively propagate the Rose of Sharon. Hi there, happy gardeners! Marcelina here, welcome back. Today on this video, I'm going to show you how to propagate Rose of Sharon in water. But before we continue this video, if this is the first time you discover my channel, consider to subscribe, share with all your friends, and don't forget to open your notifications so you will get notified when I upload new video. Let's get started and see you in the next video. Alright, we're going to propagate the Rose of Sharon in water. There are two ways method of propagation that I'm going to show it to you here on this video. One of these methods is used and applied by some of the hibiscus gardeners, and it is a simple way in rooting the hibiscus cuttings. I see good result. They are very successful in rooting those hibiscus cuttings. I haven't done this type of method of propagation because I do more advanced method in rooting my cuttings. I use Propagate, rain tower, and some other propagation that I use here in my garden. So I share it to you guys because this is one of the options that you might use in rooting your hibiscus cuttings. So we're going to do an experiment based on this type of propagation. I may omit, alter, or add an extra bonus into the procedure. So stick with me, be right back. The propagation site that we will be using today is Propagate and the glass. We're going to do an experiment with the glass method to see how effective this kind of propagation to help us root our cuttings. We're going to record our experiment. We're going to record the time when is the cuttings start to root. Then we are going to collect that data for future use. So let's begin with the Propagate. Prepare your cuttings. On today's propagation, we're going to use two products, Clonix gel hormone and Clonix clone solution. These are the two products that will help you root your cuttings faster. With your pruner, disinfect with alcohol. Wipe with tissue or paper towel. Take cuttings. Ideal cuttings is 4 to 6 inches or 6 to 8 inches. I already prepared the cuttings here to save time. Remove the lower leaves. You can leave 2 leaves or 1 leaf on top. Cut the tip. Cut the leaves half to keep the moisture locked in. At the base, cut 45 degrees angle. With your Clonix gel hormone, pour a little bit amount of gel in a container or a glass. I already pour it in here. Make sure you don't stick these cuttings inside the container to avoid contamination. Coat the cuttings thoroughly. Set aside for a few seconds to absorb the gel. With a knit cap, place the cuttings into the insert and put inside the knit cap. Before you place the cuttings in the Propagate system, make sure you check the system first for proper functioning. Things you need to look at is the water level. If the water is too low, it takes longer for the fog to reach to the cuttings, and most of your cuttings will dry out. If the water is too high, this will increase condensation, and you will be seeing water dripping from your cuttings. Increased condensation will lead to rot of the stem. So the proper level of the water in the system should be past midline, 6 inches from the top. Another thing that you need to look at is the fogger system. Mineral deposits such as salt will clog the machine. So always check the machine for the flow of the fog. So if you see that it is not working properly, clean the machine. Another thing that you need to look at is the earth tone. If the airstone is not working, replace it. This is not expensive, it is cheap, so it's easy to replace. Make sure that you're mindful of your system, because if everything fails, all of these cuttings will die and you lose whole of your propagation. All right, so we check the system, everything is working, way to go. So if you guys are using the Propagate system to propagate plants, always mindful of your system. Check first before you place your cuttings to make sure it is working. Dependency 100% of your propagation using the Propagate. If anything fails, all of these cuttings will die. And here you go, you lose all your propagation. So again, check the system. Then after you're done checking the system, place your cuttings. Make sure that you label the cuttings, the name of the plant that you propagate to help you identify what you grow, and also the date when you propagate the cuttings and when is the time the cutting starts to root. So you do all those requirements. All right, so the next procedure or next propagation that we will be doing today is the glass method. As I mentioned earlier in this video, I haven't done this method, guys, but it is cool. I watched this video from one of the YouTube gardener. He uses the propagation to propagate the hibiscus, and I see the result. He used the water and mix it with soil, and probably the soil, by mixing the water, is making the cuttings to stimulate roots. So we can figure it out. That's why we're going to do an experiment, this kind of propagation, because as I mentioned, I haven't done this. I do more advanced propagation. I do Propagate, and I use the rain tower and some other methods to root my cuttings. So we're going to go back the basic principles of propagation, and this is cool, and you might consider using this type of propagation as one of your options if you can't build the Propagate, because this is the system that will increase your percentage rate in rooting your cuttings. It is fast, it is clean, so that's why I'm depending 100% of my propagation using this system. But I'm going to share this, so we're going to do an experiment with this, and we are going to record everything that we use in here. I will omit or probably altered or maybe added perhaps of the materials that we're going to use in this type of propagation and see the result. So before we start, guys, I'm going to show you I'm going to follow up with the propagation that we had with the snake plants. So in that propagation, we used the airstone, and I see a good result in that by using just the airstone. The time was decreased, so instead of waiting up 2 months to root the cuttings, it decreased the amount to, I think it was like less than 2 weeks. So let's see. Okay, so this is the snake plants, guys, that remember I was doing a video on this using the Propagate and also using the bowl. Now, I use the airstone instead to place it inside the cuttings, and I found out that the airstone is helping the cuttings to start rooting earlier as opposed to just plain water. So as you can see, I'm going to show it to you guys. See, I take out the airstone and place back to the Propagate because I need this airstone inside the system. So as you can see, look at that. It's rooting. It's only less than 2 weeks, and I was waiting for 2 months to root my snake plants without the airstone. So if you're going to use the propagation, use the airstone. It's not that expensive. It's cheap. So all of them, as you can see, all of them. Look at that. It's rooting. It's cool, isn't it? So we're going to do the second propagation, guys, and I'll be right back. All right, I'm back. I take a handful of soil and add into the water and mix them together. I prepared in advance to save time. I place the Rose of Sharon cuttings here and label the glass. I add Clonix clone solution. I filled this container in full and place into the water and mix them together. Now, the original propagation using this method, he uses the powder. So if you guys have the powder, you can use that. But I would recommend to use the Clonix gel because it is already in the liquid form. So liquid to liquid, it's easy to mix. If you are using the powder would float on the top and then it is longer to dissolve into the water. So use the Clonix clone solution. This is very expensive product, but it is a good stuff. It helps your propagation to root faster. Now, the next thing we need to add is the earthstone. Look at that. It creates bubble. So the earthstone helps the movement of the water instead of being stagnant. And also the bubbles creates oxygenation. This oxygenation would help our cuttings to start developing some roots. I just love experiment, guys, wouldn't you? Experiment leads to discovery. All right, what if we don't add an earthstone? How is this affect with our propagation? So I have another container in here. So I add the same material. I had the soil, then I also have the Clonix clone solution. But I'm not using an earthstone in this container. So we're going to gather some information, gather some data between the two containers. Which one of these containers will start rooting first? The one we are using the earthstone or this one without the earthstone? So that is the data that we're going to collect. Then we will put that for future use. So if you're using this kind of propagation, guys, this is a simple propagation, and it is cool. It's nice to experiment your propagation sometime. And we'll see. If you're using this kind of method of propagating your cuttings, make sure you replace the water. Since we had the chemicals inside it, you probably don't replace the water more often. Do it every 2 weeks and then add another solution again. The same if you take out the water and replace a new water in the cup, you need to add a new solution. The same dosage, 1 full cup. And that's our propagation for today. If you enjoyed this video, guys, hit this video like. Also, don't forget to share to all your friends. And if you may, subscribe if you haven't subscribed yet. Thank you for watching and see you next week. Bye-bye.